I guess, disappointing end to the preparations of the last fight. You said Inoue, is it Inoue? Like, I've heard a million different pronunciations for his name.
Doesn't matter. He's got all the belts and all on him. So it's look, he's a great fighter. Like we were scheduled twice to fight him, and the first time it was just, I was one of our sparring partners that we had brought out. Also final spar camp, and just I don't know whether it was, I'd done a heavy week of sparring prior leading up to that final spar, and I had a little mouse sort of just on the eye, so it might have been a little bit soft or whatever, and it was barely a shot that you thought anything of or whatever, and it just opened up, and it wasn't a massive cut, but it was a cut nonetheless. And this guy's one of the best pound for pound in the world, so we looked to reschedule it and to move it to a date that was not too far away, where he was going to look at other options, but one that was close enough for me to think I'd be able to recover properly and get back in there and not have a cut. And same thing came to, we done no sparring after that original cut. We done no sparring. It was pretty much all drill work. All that work was below the head as well. So like it was hitting the bags, the crash mat, and flogging myself in all my conditioning aspects. But the contact side of things was no head contact until we said, I want to be able to see some punches coming back in my head. It's been over a month since someone's tried to punch me in the head. I've got to sort of get that feel for it again before we head to Japan. And I was 10 days out again, and I was about 6 rounds in, and it wasn't full on sparring. It was very it was actually like I was wrestling with a bigger guy for a minute, and then I'd have one guy come in and like Shark Tanking you pretty much, but like it was theme sparring, nothing heavy, and I was about 6 rounds in, and one of my close teammates, Jason Fawcett, hit me with a right hand, and same thing, nothing. It wasn't a massive shot or a heavy shot, but this time I felt it like almost pop, and it was like shit. I knew straight away that this ain't good. I've got straight out the ring, and the cut was 10 times worse than the original cut. So it was like I wouldn't have even got cleared the second time around. The first time we might have been able to glue it and try and protect it that way. It still would have come open straight away in the fight, but this one you wouldn't have even got cleared. I ended up getting 14 stitches in my eye there, so I can see it, can probably see it there. So it's it was a nasty cut. Like I'm still not back into full sparring yet. I've got me clearance, but it's something we'll look to pick up in the next week. So
I want to ask you two things about that, because the interesting thing is, I guess, as a professional athlete, it must be so challenging to time your run right. Like people talk about coming in a peak. I run a bit casually. I'm fucking awful at it, but I run a bit. And people talk about the peak week of a prep, be it for whatever race you're doing, and you're trying to reach peak, taper off, feel like fresh and rested for whether it be your fight or your event. You don't want to undercook yourself.
No.
Because you're going into the biggest fight of your life. But if you overcook yourself, you kind of have to balance that. How do you do that?
Yeah, look, my coach is a very smart man. He structures everything, and look, we're 10 days out from a fight. I think we never spar the week of or anything like that. So 10 days out is usually, for every camp I've done, has been my last spar. And it was the same process as normal both times, and it's just the body didn't have enough time the second time around to heal up. And like I said, the first time was just a bit of a freak thing that happened, and it just didn't have enough time to fully heal itself the second time around. And it's it's something like we try and manage, and you go off feel a bit, but like you said, you can't undercook yourself as well. And I think a lot of people, we train very, very hard as it is, but that week, the sessions, the intensity is still high, but the volume out of the sessions and the amount of sessions you're doing definitely drops. So you feel that, you come into your own, you're feeling fresh. You're like, I've got so much work under me, like my workload's dropped so much, you start to feel good, even though you're doing your weight cut and you're managing all that sort of stuff. So it's a process. It takes getting used to, but it's look, I've done it a lot of times now as well, so it's something I'm accustomed to. But the last time was just, it was, it's one of the craziest experiences I've been through in my career. And it was you know, it was tough at the very start of it. You know, it was very tough, and it's still even now like people. And I never really listen to outside comments and stuff about people saying you're ducking or dodging or whatever. I know what I'm about and know what I want to do. Like financially, that fight, you know, changed my life. And, you know, already had some of that money spent in property and stuff before that fight happened. And, you know, that's left me now, you know, having to, you know, I've had to be real tight with things and just change a whole way of living, you know, purely for that. So it's, you know, it's had a massive impact on me, and you know, even if I get another world title shot, it's not going to be anywhere close to the significance of that fight. So, and mate, that's your opportunity, you know, to cement your legacy for forever. You know, he's a 2-time undisputed world champion. Beating him is, you know, that's a very hard win to top. You know, in the sport altogether, he's one of the best.
I want to jump into all of that in a moment, but the other thing I want to ask you is when you're going through that moment of realisation, fuck, we're 10 days out, I'm cut. What's the conversation between you, your coach, your team, where you're starting to figure out, is this something we can recover from in time? Do we have to pull the pin? Because I can't imagine that's an easy conversation.
It's not, but it's almost like the first time I was adamant, like, it wasn't a big cut, and I was adamant, like, nah, fuck it, we can fight, just glue the fucking thing and we'll get on with it. And then my coach, he's the voice of reason. You know, I've listened to him since I've been 12 years old, and you know, his word is, you know, gospel for me. And he's like, mate, we're not giving a bloke like this the upper hand. And the second time round, like, if you had a look at the card, I knew, like, that fight's just not happening. Like the second time round, it was just like, there's no way that, mate, you could see into my eye. It was like you're going there for purely a payday at that point. You know, and even then, you know, you're a big chance of not getting cleared by a doctor. I had, you know, over 100 and something people booked to go to Japan and spend money on a fight. Like, am I going to really go there and, you know, get a doctor's stoppage after 2 rounds? And, you know, I haven't worked all my life to put myself in this position to go there, you know, cop a payday and then, you know, have to build myself back up. Like, when I get my opportunity, I want to be 100% ready to go. So we've had to make a few little adjustments now. Like I'll be forever wearing a full face headgear now with a nose bar just to give me a bit more of that cover over the head. So to, you know, a bit more protection. So little things like that you can do. And yeah, it's just you live and you learn, and you know, that's life. It's just my turn to go through a bit of the shit at the moment. So, you know, it's a bit of adversity, but you know, I'll bounce back.